The Champions League final is almost upon us, and this year's tournament did not disappoint with some truly jaw-dropping moments, perhaps none more so than some of the comebacks. It seems like each year this cup inspires some of the most memorable performances that beat the odds and the near certain scorelines, like the instant classic game that was Roma versus Barcelona. With that memory fresh in our minds, let's take a look at some of the other most incredible Champions League comebacks. Number 10. Manchester United vs Olympiakos 2014. The season after Sir Alex Ferguson's departure was a pretty bleak one for Manchester United. The squad was seriously ageing and David Moyes' appointment wasn't inspiring them to the greatness the club was used to. A 2-0 defeat to Olympiakos away from home in the first leg of the 2014 round of 16 seemed like it could be one humiliation too many for the Red Devils. In the return fixture, Robin van Persie left the field injured, but not before he scored a hat-trick to overturn the scoreline, and David De Gea continued his ascent to the top of the world goalkeeping summit with a few stunning saves to see United through the tie. It was their highest point in the competition for the foreseeable future, as they were knocked out by Bayern Munich in the next round and failed to qualify for the tournament the next year after finishing 7th in the Premier League. Number 9. Chelsea vs Paris Saint-Germain 2014. The same year as Man U's matchup with Olympiakos, Chelsea drew PSG in the quarter-finals and gave up 3 goals at the Parc des Princes in the first leg, finishing the match 3-1. It was Jose Mourinho's first season back at the club, and so their defensive fragility had been surprising. In the second leg at Stamford Bridge though, they were a wall. Eden Hazard went off in the first half with an injury, was replaced by Andre Schürrle, who scored 1 goal, and another substitute, Demba Ba, nabbed the second in the 87th minute. Mourinho even joined in on the dog pile to celebrate the strike that saw them through on away goals, making for one of the most memorable comebacks in the competition. Number 8. Manchester United vs Bayern Munich 1999. Manchester United were only down 1-0 in the 1998 Champions League final to Bayern, but they were playing without the suspended Paul Scholes and Roy Keane, and time was almost up. Flares were being set off and Bayern ribbons were being draped over the cup as the German side looked like they'd won it when the clock hit 90 minutes, but Teddy Sheringham scored in the 91st minute to level the game. Just as it looked like it was headed to extra time, United super sub Ole Gunnar Solskjaer struck in the final second of the game to hand United its first European trophy in 31 years and its first ever treble. Number 7. Bayern Munich vs Porto 2015. There was no doubt that Bayern in 2015 should have beaten Porto over 2 legs. It was surprising that they lost the first leg away from home 3-1, but not necessarily damning. What was shocking though was the reaction in the second leg at the Allianz Arena, where they didn't simply and professionally erase the deficit, but completely creamed their opponents. Bayern pumped 5 past Porto in the first half, pedal all the way to the metal in a ruthless display of German efficiency. Porto pulled 1 back in the second half, only for Bayern to thump another one home, just to have the last laugh. The game finished 6-4 on aggregate, and what a set it was. Number 6. Chelsea vs Napoli 2012. Chelsea had lost to Napoli 3-1 in the first leg of the 2012 round of 16, a slumping performance that reflected their poor position domestically. The club had fired coach Andre Villas-Boas after they looked unable to make the top 4 in the Premier League. Interim manager Roberto Di Matteo was overseeing the side as they took the field at Stamford Bridge for the second leg and was delighted to see his team collectively soldier on, scoring 4 on the night to take them through 5-4 on aggregate. Perhaps not the most impressive comeback game of all time, but the victory inspired the team's run through the rest of the Champions League that year and they went on to win the whole thing. Number 5. Barcelona vs AC Milan 2013. Hearing that a Barcelona team in its prime managed to overturn a 2-goal deficit in the round of 16 to advance doesn't sound particularly impressive, but when you consider it was the first time in the tournament's history that a team had come back from 2 goals down without an away goal, its historic nature is undoubtedly elevated. After conceding 2 at the San Siro, Barca returned home, changed out of their ice lolly coloured away kits and held Milan to 0 goals at the Camp Nou, while Lionel Messi, David Villa and Jordi Alba thumped 4 past them at the other end. Number 4. Monaco vs Real Madrid 2004. Looking at their cup form in recent years, holding 12 titles with 2 wins in the last 2 years, the first club to retain the trophy and now contenders to win it for a 3rd consecutive season, it won't surprise you to learn that Real Madrid have been exquisite in European competition fairly consistently throughout its history, which made it all the more impressive in 2004 when Real Madrid entered the second leg of the quarter-final game against Monaco, in Monaco, 4-2 on aggregate, scored first to make it 5-2 and still lost to Monaco. It was on away goals, but nonetheless, a team that looked down and out pulled itself off the mat to win the match on points. Gotta respect it. Number 3, Deportivo La Coruña vs AC Milan, 2004. More often than not, the bigger team is the one that goes on to complete a comeback, making it a little hard to truly deeply celebrate. But sometimes the underdogs do pull off an upset. At the time, Deportivo La Coruña's situation looked sealed. AC Milan, Champions League trophy holders and tournament favourites that year again, had a 3-goal advantage over the Spaniards, who were trailing 4-1 from the first leg at San Siro. But Deportivo's coach must have known something the rest of us didn't, because even before the game he teased that miracles and irrational things can happen. And so they did, as Deportivo piled the pressure on Milan so hard that the Italians ended up conceding 4 goals on the night and stunningly getting knocked out of the tournament. Number 2, Barcelona vs Paris SaintGermain, 2017. Statistically the most impressive Champions League comeback there's ever been, and Neymar-inspired Barcelona entered the second leg of their round of 16 tie against PSG 4 goals down, having been thumped at the Parc des Princes. It was the first time in the tournament's history that a team has overcome a 4-goal deficit to win, and Barcelona did it with a drive that suggested fate had intervened. They were so dominant that PSG just fell apart, almost like they'd forgotten all of their footballing ability. Near the end they scored 3 goals in 7 minutes to take the game, completing the most unlikely of comebacks, and one that, although it happened only last season, will live forever in the memory of the tournament. Number 1, Liverpool vs AC Milan, 2005. It was never not going to be this game. I didn't grow up a Liverpool fan, but I watched this game live and I still rate it to this day the best game I've ever seen, over a decade later. It's also one of the greatest finals in the history of any tournament, and probably one of the finest moments in the history of English football. Liverpool 3-0 down at half-time against an AC Milan team in its prime, with players like Kaká, Paolo Maldini and Andrea Pirlo all on the field. Milan had scored in the first minute, but at half-time then manager Rafa Benitez shifted the formation and pushed Steven Gerrard higher up the field, who ended up scoring and winning a penalty, helping them take the game to extra time and ultimately winning on penalties thanks to an inspired performance from Jerzy Dudek in goal for Liverpool. The miracle of Istanbul. Truly the greatest comeback the Champions League has ever seen. That wraps up our list of the most impressive Champions League comebacks. Where do you think Roma's comeback against Barcelona ranks? Let us know in the comments below, along with what other videos you'd like to see. Give this one a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any. I'm Lloyd Mallison and thanks for watching.